Um, Alright. Let's see what happens here. You guys try and do this shit.
We failed?
Yep.
The problem is, I'm not a range hero.
Yeah. And now you're both kind of like useless. Because all you are is a devourer, and all he is cogs. Right here, I'd be running to over here. So that the second that they spawn, I can recognize if they have a good creep or not, and then I can go check this one. Like, you'll already see if this one's got a good one or not. A good creep for you to eat, because you have the ward. And, if you're here, you're not really generating anything. You're just kind of like sharing experience with your clockwork, and that's experience that your team's going to get anyways. So sitting around with the clockwork isn't very beneficial. And then, yeah, this guy is the best one for you to eat in the early game. So I'd be like, I really need that. Because it's like, what is it? 6 or 7 health per second AoE. So I'd be running over there right now. And then, yeah, that is horrible. You just lost, you basically, just took like 400 damage of harass by eating a melee creep instead of going and getting this guy. Because that guy, 5.5 health aura, and then you amplify it by 18%. So you're going to be missing 6 health percent, or 6 or 7 health regen on you and on your clockwork for the next 70 seconds. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So as Doom, you want to be looking for these guys, because that's like, you're basically anyone near you, and you are eating a tango for the next, next 10 minutes of the game. So this is a huge, this is one of those mistakes where it's like, these are the things that I point out, and then you come back with another lesson, or another, you come back for a lesson in like a few days, and then we can go from there, because that's going to change the way that the whole game goes, because you're going to be a lot weaker. You're going to be missing tangos when you shouldn't be. Like, you'd be full health right now, almost, if you ate that satyr instead of eating that melee creep.
So, that's one of the problems with my offlane. It's just I don't do enough sometimes.
Well, Doom is kind of like you're not gonna do anything until like at least level like 5. Until then, all you really want to do is get whatever you can, which means eating large creeps. And then getting your experience so you can like run people down when this is a lot better. But yeah, like now you have to back. And if you had the satyr, you wouldn't. Or you can use your scorched earth. So I'm gonna skip through the laning phase, because that's kind of like, you already lost the laning phase by not having ate this guy earlier. You're missing about 4 minutes or 3 minutes of 5.5 health regen for you and your clockwork in the early game. So I'm gonna skip through some. We can go back and look at what this Doom was, though. And that was like, you could have You could have just ran there if you were looking at that. If you ran this way, you would have saved the TP and probably got the kill still.
Without the Doom?
Without the TP scroll. And then you can evaluate a lot better when you're right here if you need to Doom or not. I don't know if the Doom was necessary. Let me check real quick. Yeah, you didn't have to Doom there. If you didn't use the animation of Doom, you would have been able to catch up and use this. And then you could have just ran him down while these two burned him down. So you didn't need the mana that you used. Like, you could have just ran there, not use the Shrine, use your Scorch Earth and your Infernal Blade. And then you'd still have your Shrine and you'd still have your Doom.
Okay.
And this is a horrible spell to cast unless you're like gonna get a kill with it, because it's one of the worst magic to damage nukes in the game. It's 1.6 damage per mana, and then if you look at like this guy's is also pretty bad, but it's still better than that at the higher levels. It's twice as good. And then this guy's Void is like 3 times as good. This guy's Q is like a lot better. Like even the base damage has a better multiplier or mana per damage. So it's just kind of like you have no mana regen on a hero that needs mana to do stuff, and you're throwing out a third of your mana pool or a fourth of your mana pool just to do like 2 or 3 right clicks worth of damage.
So, before I started playing other heroes, I was playing Timbersaw all the time. So, Timbersaw on night, so I had a very limited hero pool prior to.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'd say he's probably one of the worst heroes to play.
Timbersaw bad, yeah.
Yeah, because he's so like polarizing. Like, you get to level 15 and you're doing well and you just like kind of can't die. And then if you like learn Dota from that perspective and then you try and play like offlane, like some like Bat Rider or some shit. And there's also you kind of have to know what all of the, like, it's not worth it to have devoured that small creep, but you probably did that not knowing that he had an ability.
Well, Purge is pretty good, isn't it?
It's good, but it's like situationally good. Like if he had something that's super important to dispel, like if you're laning against the Windrunner, it's amazing because you can take off her Windrun with your Purge, but like what are you gonna purge from this guy?
That's a good point.
It's 100, like they've nerfed this a lot because it used to be amazing. The mana cost is a lot, and the slow is not nearly as good as it used to be. So this is like, if you're not actually purging with it, it's not worth it, and the only thing you can purge is the Windrunner's Windrun, and you haven't been near her the entire game.
So what is my target creep?
It depends on the game, but early game you definitely want a Satyr. Later on, like here, I'd be looking for like a Centaur, so I can blink, stun, Doom. Or you can get a Wolf or a Net creep, because the Net's a lot better than the Purge is for lockdown, and then you can push with the Skeletons. But yeah, you have a ton of different options. You can eat the healing creep, I think, and he gives you the aura, the mana regen aura and the heal, which is pretty decent.
Small camp?
Yeah. I haven't seen people do that, and I haven't done it myself, so I don't know if it's like missing one of the two. which it shouldn't be. But then the large wolf gives you an AoE damage buff and the crit, and then there's one that gives you like the little like kobold dude gives you like 12 or 13% movement speed AoE, which is pretty good. The halberd gives you the tomato dude. He gives you a attack speed aura with a better AoE nuke for pushing a little bit faster. The wildkins kind of suck, the bird ones. The tornado costs a lot of mana. I think it's 100 or 200 mana, and then all you get is like an armor aura. But those are the main ones, and then like eventually you can devour creeps or ancients, but I don't know if people even get that. So those are the ones to stick to usually. The centaur one's really good if you have a blink dagger, because you can blink in and stun people. You just like get a 2-second stun on a hero that shouldn't have a stun, and it's pretty strong. Early game, the health regen is amazing.
Should I have itemized differently to deal with my mana problems?
You could have got drums. Drums is pretty good on Doom, because you run people down a lot and you need the mana regen. So picking up one of those would have been nice. Maybe picking up a Vlad's would have been also nice. Vlad's is just really good on Doom because you have like no armor, so the armor is really good. You have no mana regen, so the mana regen's really good, and then it helps you push. If you have a Vlad's and a wolf creep devoured, you're giving like 50% damage bonus to your Juggernaut, and then you guys can push really hard with that. Like you could have gone, you probably could have gone Vlad's drum and then pushed early and ended the game with this guy having a lot of damage from his souls and then Juggernaut's healing ward. But then you'd be like running into the Skywrath while he's the strongest. Another way to look at it is just trying to delay the game, because they have a mid Skywrath that's bound to fall off. So if you just try and delay the game, get something like a pipe, get maybe a Midas, which would probably suck. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think the Blink Dagger's like not horrible. Another thing to think of is a Shadow Blade, because you can also scout people out with it, as opposed to Blink, which just... Blink allows you to kill people that you can see. Shadow Blade allows you to kill people that you can't see yet.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah. And the Blade Mail's not too bad. It gives you a little bit of mana, gives you a little bit of armor. They have a good amount of AoE. Sorry, I was drinking something real quick. Doom is also really good on Pudge, because then he's taking 90 damage, 90 magic damage, and then also your 20 pure damage for 16 seconds, so he's definitely gonna die if you Doom him here. I would probably just Doom him and then stun the Night Stalker and try to run down or up. But the Pudge definitely dies if you Doom him here.
I'm sometimes just not very liberal about using my ultimates in the early game when I should be.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing with Enigma. The ult cooldown is super long, but it's kind of like holding your ult isn't going to change a massive team fight in the early game the same way it is the late game. Does that make sense? Like, yeah. In the late game, if you Doom the OD at 40 minutes right before the fight starts, you guys are probably going to win the fight. But at 15 minutes, you're not going to be doing 5v5, so your Doom, you can use it a lot more, like, willy-nilly, Because, like, if they see that you used a Doom on a Night Stalker that just ran away at 40 minutes, then they can push your base and they can end the game. But if you use it now, what are they going to do? Group and take your offlane tier 1? Whoop-de-fucking-do. And I'd rather see you with the stomp than with the boulder, because you have the blink dagger. This one's.
I wasn't looking for the stomp.
Yeah, you ran past it, but it's like you're. What was that?
I said this is a hero with like I didn't have a good.
Yeah.
Strong objectives.
I got you.
Throughout the late mid game.
Yeah. I think I pointed out most of the like Doom stuff. If we want to like try to go to another replay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Alright, let's see if
How long will it take to download?
We'll see. Hopefully not too long. This one didn't take long. Hopefully it's not going to be annoying because of the other stuff. It seems to be alright as long as we don't jinx it or I try to like go to something else.
I'm just curious, how much money do you make from doing this? Enough to like be almost like a part-time job?
Something like that. We can talk about it more when I'm not recording.
Okay. Hey, where did you say you were putting the video?
I'm gonna put it up on my YouTube. I have it also streaming because sometimes the video doesn't save, and if I stream it, then it saves it in 2 places, and it's a little redundancy.
Okay.
So I'll send you it's gonna be 2 links because we split it up, and I'm not good at editing, so I don't know how to put it back together. But I'll send you those after this when I have them up. I don't like that you skilled early. Like, there's situations where any one of your abilities could be good. Like, you might even, like, live if you get your, brawl, where you could die with anything else, so it's kind of like, you're limiting your options by doing this.
Okay.
Like, right now, it'd be really nice to be able to thunderclap both of these guys. But you still don't really want to go in, because they have, like, 4 seconds of stun if this guy shackles you. But yeah, like, if you can thunderclap him right now, then you set up for a torrent. Oh, he's going mid, so he doesn't have either. Do you want me to wait?
Sorry?
Do you want me to wait? I heard you got a call.
No, that was just so long.
Alright.
So one of the issues I have is it's so weird, but playing ranked is kind of very different from playing unranked, just because you have like a much wider range of skill in unranked
Yeah.
than in ranked. So what happens is I feel like the support tends to be better in ranked. And it ends up with me losing my lane more often than not in ranked.
Well, the thing with this is just understanding that this is a common thing to run into. The creeps are gonna die, you're gonna be the next target. When the Shadow Shaman knows that all of his creeps are gonna be running at you in the next few seconds, what is the Shadow Shaman gonna try and do?
Yeah, he's gonna shackle and I'm gonna take plus 200 damage.
Yeah, so that's just like, even if you got that deny, it wouldn't have been worth it. Because they can do either of these and you'll die. Or at least take a bunch of damage. And now you miss like 2 creeps for it, which is not too big, but... and then again, the quick buy. You need to be doing that. It's a really good way to improve and think about the game better.
Yeah.
Like, the way you die in this lane is if the Shadow Shaman shackles you. So the quicker you get your boots, which is the first item you got, which I don't know if you, like, considered that or not. If you can't get shackled, then you can't really die here. So boots are the best to save you from that. And then, you shouldn't be using this on the support, because the only thing the support's going to do is zone you, which isn't as big of a deal as the Sven missing last hits. From this lane, if you can shut down the Sven, but you're also shut down, wouldn't you say that you win the lane?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you drunken this guy, all you're doing is letting both of you get more. But if you drunken him, both of you are getting less, which is definitely preferred. Lol.
Alright, let's say I'm not playing Panda Brewmaster. What kind of offlane heroes would be good at, you know, helping out the other lanes pre-6?
Pre-6?
Are there, like, offlane heroes that are good at...
The thing with leaving pre-6 is that you leave the enemy carry to get stronger while you're not getting much stronger. So, like, right now, if you leave, the Sven's just going to get free farm, and nobody's going to be getting anything out of this lane on your team. So, you don't really want to be leaving too much.
A situation where I want to do that.
A situation where you would want to do that is, like, if the SF dives your Kunkka and you can, like, kill him for it. Because SF's a snowball hero, and if he loses his souls, he's going to have a lot harder time in the lane. Or if they, like, 2-man dive top or something like that. Because your job is to... You're much stronger with your level 6. And shit's going to be happening the whole game. Before and after your level 6. So if you can show up after your 6, you're going to be doing 3 times as much as you would be doing if you show up before your level 6. And if you get your level 6 and then communicate, hey guys, I want to roam around, does Ogre want to come bottom and get some experience, or whoever your support is? And that frees up a lane for one of these guys to catch up, and one of the easiest ways to win a game is to have your supports ahead of their supports. Because that means you guys have a 4-staff and they don't, and that means your carry survives and theirs doesn't. Or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I never communicate with supports to come take the lane experience when I go do things.
Yeah, just be like, I'm gonna go try and fight with my ult, and then leave the lane. Like, good supports will recognize that. Like, if I see that as a position 4 and I'm, like, too far behind to help with the gank, I'll definitely go take your lane. But, it's something that a lot of supports won't realize because, the supports in your games are not the same support as I am. It's the easiest way to put it, I guess. And now you're feeling kind of lost because this guy pulled. You have your ult, you kind of want to use it. This is, the thing with this guy's ult is it takes a long time to do it. Like, this guy's gonna run like 200, 300 units away when you ult. So, usually you want to clap and then immediately ult, because then they're slowed long enough for you to ult and get on top of them. But if you wait some for that, then you have to catch back up to the guy a lot.
Right.
One of the things that you can do to, like, kind of catch back up to him is use this guy's wind walk and then catch up to them, and then cyclone them, and then catch everyone up, and then dispel them, and then drop them back down, and then stun them, which allows you to get on top of them a lot better.
Okay.
And like here, you should be cycloning the Shadow Shaman because he can shackle you under the tower if you don't, and then you can just die. Like that. If you just cyclone this guy, both of you guys live here.
Actually, I made a decision to run in when we could have just run out.
Yeah, also that. Well, if he was better, he would have, unless his cooldowns were... Yeah, like, this guy could just shackle you right here, regardless of your decision.
Oh, okay, you're right.
And then you probably die because you have the creeps on you. And then you're going to get a level 2 Ether Shock to the face. But yeah, so it was a mistake to go in, and it was a mistake to not cyclone the Shadow Shaman. I also, I'd have to look at other replays from offlane Brewmasters at higher levels, but I don't really value getting treads or anything on this guy. Because it's like...
This is my first game back as Brewmaster.
Okay.
I just really didn't even think about it, but yeah. I probably should have gotten phase boots, not treads.
Well, I think either of them's just kind of like, they don't do too much, because most of what your hero is your ult. And you're delaying your Blink Dagger by 3-4 minutes. And
that's a good point.
Isn't your Blink Dagger 4 minutes sooner, having 2 more ults with Blink Dagger Primal Split in the early game? Isn't that a lot more impact than being able to run somebody down and right-click them like once or twice more for a bit more damage?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not 100% on that. I'd have to see what other people are doing at the higher levels. Like, it could be something like, you can't get away with going brown boots, Blink Dagger, but I'm not sure.
I saw S4 go this build right before I played this game.
Okay. But there's also situations where, like, you're doing well enough in the lane that, like, if it's a 50-50 lane, getting treads or phase boots can make it swing in your favor, and then you can continue to be trading with the carry. But if the lane's shit and phase boots or treads aren't going to do anything about that, it's kind of a waste of gold. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Playing from ahead versus playing from behind.
Yeah, or even if you're playing even, then it's also a huge difference. But if it's like the item isn't going to bridge the gap of you doing anything different, it's kind of like, why get the item? And then another thing with treads and phase boots is, if you want to get like bots at like 20 minutes, it's a lot harder to do because you're selling a 1400 gold to get it, 1400 gold item to get it.
Okay.
And the thing with Brewmaster is you can get a ton of cheap items. Like, you can get a Vlad's, a gem, drums, and when you start picking up a lot of those items, like, and then Ags, and then Pipe, AC, you can quickly fill up on items that make your ult a lot better, and Blink Dagger also. So, like, let's say you do Blink Dagger, Vlad's, drums, boots. That's 4 items right there. So bots is better on this guy because he can so effectively use cheap items to fill up his slots. Like, drums makes your ult better because the aura goes through your ult, whereas like a BKB doesn't do anything your ult except for let you cast it. So you're item independent mostly.
This is a bad Panda ult.
Yeah, you're kind of forcing it way too hard. Feels bad.
Oh, it's done.
Well, the cyclone is instant. The boulder takes a few seconds because it's got a slow ass projectile.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
I'm sure you've seen it where you like throw a boulder from like here, and then it meets the guy like here, like a second and a half later, because he was right here, but then he started running.
Yes.
Also, don't be afraid to get Quelling Blade on some offlaners. The thing with Quelling Blade, it doesn't make Iron Talon anymore, which really hurt offlaners. But if you think about last hits as like, let's say they are a what is the thing? The sand watches or whatever, the hourglasses. And at different amounts of sand, you can get the last hit. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Like, let's say it's got 100 grains of sand, or whatever, and then, basically, with 60 grains of sand, you can get the last hit with the Quelling Blade, but with 40, you can get it without it. And in that sense, it allows you a larger window to get a last hit, so maybe the Sven's gonna be busy, when the creep is in Quelling Blade last hit range, but then he's not busy when it's in regular last hit range. Does that make sense?
Right.
So it gives you like 4 seconds to go for a last hit instead of 3 or whatever it is. And then also you can.
Too, right?
It does not work on denies, which is a good thing because then when the Sven has a Quelling Blade, and you have a Quelling Blade, you can get your last hits a lot easier because his Quelling Blade doesn't work on your his Quelling Blade doesn't work on his own creeps, so he has a lot harder time denying you if you have a Quelling Blade. And then also when you go over in jungle, you do it quicker and you take less damage. So it's like if you get 2 extra last hits with it, it pays for itself because you can sell it for 100 gold. And then if you jungle a little bit faster, like, it's really easy to pay for itself.
Okay, so at this point in the game, we're losing, right? We're down 6k. Now, I was focusing a lot of time on Sven, but Sven actually ended up playing almost no impact the entire game.
Oh yeah, your ogre's your carry. I forgot about that.
So, I mean, ignore the fact that ogre is the carry.
Are you trying to ask if you did well in your lane or not?
No, I'm trying to ask how should I prioritize my time? Because like, your whole point of the offlane, I feel like, is to shut down the carry and prevent the cores from doing their job. But you need to focus on a certain core, right? Because you can only be in one place at a time, especially if they're all split up.
It's not as black and white as that. Like, certain offlaners do certain things differently. Like, a Weaver is going to try and be more of a carry than he is going to try and be a shutting down the Sven type of offlaner. Does that make sense?
Right.
So it's kind of the same as support heroes where, yeah, your goal as a support hero is to help your team. But sometimes the best way to do that is, like, shitting on their team and ignoring your own team. Like, if they have a Tinker mid and you're Skywrath and you just go mid, and that means that, let's say you have an AM safe lane, you're the Skywrath, you guys have, like, a dual off lane, they have a dual off lane, you can't do anything to their dual off lane. But what you can do is go mid, try to make one of these guys rotate, and then your AM can 1v1 instead of doing the 2v2. So sometimes the best way to help your team is to go somewhere else and do something else. So there's a lot of... I need to be careful with you trying to get into the mindset of my goal as an offlaner is to do shut down the enemy or whatever, because sometimes you're a hero that doesn't really care about shutting them down as much as you do bolstering yourself. But in this game, I would kind of be like, you can look at the stats and see that the SF is 5-1, and then the Sven's 0-4, and then you can try and just like switch it up. Be like, all right, well, like right now, my focus would be I'm gonna get my Blink Dagger, and then I'm gonna kill the SF, because the SF's big, and SF's fall off super hard when you kill them a few times. So it's not like, alright, I decided that Sven needs to be shut down, I'm gonna stick on him for the entire rest of the fucking game, if that makes sense.
I think that's what I did here.
Yeah. The thing with Sven is, he really just needs 2,000 to 3,000 gold items, and then he's a lot stronger. But if you can shut him down for long enough, it doesn't matter. And you should not be running into an SF when he's trying to Yule's ult somebody. That is not the strategy. You almost get the boat stun off, but it's still like, if you run in or if you run out, you're not going to do anything to the Shadow Fiend, right? Like, you're not going to stun him.
I think I was intending on ulting, but I just did it too slow.
Maybe, yeah.
I should have just ulted immediately instead of...
You could have ulted here. Yeah, if you ulted here, you might have been able to Cyclone him. Yeah, so if you're going to keep playing Brewmaster, I think one of the main things is just ulting better. Like, when we watched that other replay, you, like, you remember when you ulted right here and you, like, ran up, and then the Alchemist just ran this way?
Yes.
It's kind of like you should just cast your spells, get them slow, get them Drunken Haste, and then ult. Don't, like, try and do extra shit. The main thing is getting your ult off. And I think you're trying to get the most that you can out of your hero before you ult. Like you tried to Thunderclap this SF and then Drunken Haze. Does that sound about correct?
Yes.
I think the way to look at it from there is how much impact you have if you do everything perfectly before you ult and then you ult, as opposed to how much impact do you have if you don't do everything perfectly and then you ult. It's about like 95% or 90% of the impact if you just get your ult off, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the damage calculations. If you get all your damage off with your ult, you get 2.2k.
Well, I mean,
so yeah,
it's if you do the shit before your ult as opposed to not doing it. Like, if you do it before, you get like 10% more impact out of the fight. But then if you die, it's like, what are the chances of you dying before you can ult if you try to do the extra shit? And it's actually a pretty large percent. Like, most of the time when Brewmasters die, it's because they're trying to do all the other shit first instead of just ulting. So I'd say go in for the extra stuff, like the clapping of the Shadow Fiend. It's going to make you twice as likely to die, and unless you have a 0% chance of dying while you go to do it, then it's usually not worth it. Does that all make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I just, a quick question, I haven't actually tried this in the lobby, but is it possible to blink ult and not get insta, like Hex or insta Yules?
Hex and Yules are instant, so it depends on how good the enemy is.
Okay.
Like, it's the same with Axe. If I see an Axe coming at me and I have a Yules, like, let's say we're all right here, we have a ward here, the Axe is right here, the Axe is running at us, I'm just gonna click the Yules on the Axe while he's over here, and no matter what he does, I'm gonna get the Yules off before he gets his taunt off. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, you see how if you had your treads, if you didn't go treads, you probably would have got your blink dagger like 5 minutes ago. Like, you've been pretty close to your blink for a long ass time now.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright, if you wanna go to another game?
Yeah, we can. I think we can probably do like 5 or 10 more minutes of like useful stuff before it's kind of like, the coaching's gonna, we already talked about the most important stuff, so it's gonna fall off a little bit, but we have about like 5 minutes left, if you want to do one. Was there a...
Let's just go to, the Axe one, real quick.
Sure.
Axe is not a hero that I've had too much experience playing.
Hopefully it doesn't take 5 minutes to download it. So this game, your priorities is this guy, for sure. And if you can't jump on this guy, then you want to get this guy right after he ults. Because this guy is going to be low, and you can ult him, and you can kill him. He does a lot of quick attacks, so he's going to give you spin procs. And if you can die to kill this guy, it's definitely worth it. This guy's... The Huskar is dealt with very well by the Bane and the Troll. So, I would rather actually see you focus more on this guy. Because you guys don't have any AoE crowd control solutions for him, but you do have the solutions for the Huskar. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then if this guy does really well, you can stop his ult with your whatever, which can be pretty good. The thing with Axe, though, is he has a very delicate laning phase, and if you don't do too well in the laning phase, you can kind of just not do anything for the rest of the game.
That's pretty much exactly what happened here. I mean, normally I like playing very strong laners. But I've been trying to branch out to other heroes, and I don't really know how well their laning phases go, generally.
Axe is either he shits on the enemy team, or he gets shit on, usually. And that's based on if they have solutions to you or not. Which is like, if they have a dazzle or something, he can just shadow poison you, and you can't do anything about it. If they have any supports that's ranged and has decent harass, you're kinda in trouble as an Axe.
I had Silencer on me the whole time.
Yeah. That'll do it. Yeah, and another thing to realize is that both of these heroes are really good at killing. They're not too great at harassing, but they can kill you very easily. With this guy having a stun and a reposition, and this guy having a lot of disables and some pretty decent damage, he's really good at killing. And then this guy's really good at harassing, so your laning phase is going to be hard as shit. So I'd be like, alright, I'm going to see how the lane goes, and then if it's shit, I'm just going to go jungle. And I'd be like, alright, if I get caught out, I'm dead, so I'm just going to, like, probably leave this Quap to do whatever she can. And I'd, like, leave right now and go jungle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the laning phase is gonna be a little bit weird to go over then. The boots
Now,
are good.
Okay.
The
If I do jungle, do I buy Quelling Blade?
Well, this is one of the heroes where this is your jungle ability, so you don't really want a Quelling Blade. It used to be fine to get it when you can build an Iron Talon, but you can't anymore. And the active of the Iron Talon was really good with this because usually there's one creep that has a lot more health than the other, and you can just Iron Talon that guy and then spin them all down and they die at about the same time. You have two choices really. You either go Vanguard first or get the Ring of Health first, or you go Tranquils and you try to time it well so that you can heal up with your Tranquils with your backpack or dropping the item. But yeah, so that's just kind of like how this lane would go. I'd be like, alright, well they're probably just gonna fucking kill me every time I come back. And I'll let the Quap get whatever she can and I'll go jungle.
Okay.
So yeah, do you have any final questions?
Nope.
So yeah, I'm gonna upload these to YouTube. I'll send you the links, and try to get a few games in, relative to the things we talked about, and then we can go from there with more lessons.
Would it probably be possible for you to chop out like the first 20 seconds of the first video where my face is showing?